Hello everyone and welcome to Spa for round 7 of the 2021 Formula 1 Championship. It's a nice sunny sky above the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps here. Quite the contrast to what we saw last time out in Austria. If you haven't seen that race or any other of the previous Alternative Apex races, then please go back and check those out because you don't want to miss out, especially round 5 and round 6, two absolute classic races that I highly recommend watching if you haven't. Here is the circuit in Spa. You can see long straights here, lots of on-throttle time. Really will be a test of the engines around here just as much as it is a test of the drivers because of just how much time you spend on the throttle. In the top left of your screen now you'll see last time out it was Lewis Hamilton who reigned supreme in a, well, quite a rainy race. Lewis Hamilton took the win in Austria ahead of the two McLaren drivers of Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo, who got a double podium for the McLaren team, which was an outstanding result for a team that is currently third in the constructors' standings and looking to perhaps get a little bit higher on that podium this time out. Now here is our starting grid for the Belgian Grand Prix. Sergio Perez will be starting alongside his teammate Max Verstappen, who got pole position. It is a just under 2/10 gap between the two Red Bull drivers on the front row of the grid. Then it's Bottas and Ricciardo getting his McLaren onto the second row. Hamilton and Sainz on the third row. Then it's Gasly with a great qualifying ahead of Norris. Then Leclerc, Tsunoda rounds out the top 10 ahead of Alonso and Vettel. First couple of cars outside the top 10 ahead of Ocon, then Lance Stroll, Kimi Raikkonen, Antonio Giovinazzi, George Russell, Pato O'Ward, Mick Schumacher, Robert Schwartzman, and then on the back row of the grid we have Nicholas Latifi and Nikita Mazepin. There is your grid for the 2021 Belgian Grand Prix, and let's get on to the circuit. The cars are ready, the lights are on, and we are racing in Spa. It's a good start for Max Verstappen, but he has to quickly come across to cover his teammate in the form of Sergio Perez, who got a good launch there on the outside line. The two Mercedes battling out behind as Daniel Ricciardo maintains fourth position, but it looks like a bit of debris flying in the background. Could be some damage to one of the cars further down in the field, but it is Max Verstappen who leads the field up Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Can he keep this lead as they make their way down the very long Kemmel Straight here? Sergio Perez will be in that slipstream and will be using every last bit of his engine power to try and get alongside his teammate, but for Max Verstappen using all of his engine, and he manages to hold on to the lead as they make their way into the Les Combes chicane for the first time today, battling further down the order as well, but it is Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas in second and third. Got lots of battling further down the order. Got Charles Leclerc and Yuki Tsunoda, and that's now going defensive on the Aston Martin of Sebastian Vettel as they make their way downhill through this very long Spa circuit, longest on the calendar of course. Got battling further down the order was George Russell, Pato. What looks like that's the car that's picked up damage. It's Esteban Ocon in the Alpine. He is the car that's picked up some wing damage there. That we saw that debris down in turn 1, so that is a bit of, that's going to really hurt the Alpine driver's race. But up at the front, Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez 1 and 2 at the moment on lap 3 of the Grand Prix, and Red Bull currently looking like the quickest couple of cars, but Perez staying with his teammate at the moment, and Verstappen is not pulling away out front as the cars make their way around this Spa-Francorchamps circuit. On lap 4 of the race, Sergio Perez has got a great slipstream here on his teammate. He's got DRS open, overtake engaged. He's going to go to the right hand side of his teammate and cruise past Max Verstappen into the lead of the Grand Prix. Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen battling it out for the championship this season along with Lewis Hamilton. Those two, it's going to be crucial that they don't crash into each other, but also they've got to think about their own championships and not just the team here. Now it's lap 7, Max Verstappen looks like he's got to run on Sergio Perez this time. He's going to go wheel to wheel with his teammate. There's contact there between the two Red Bull drivers. Looks like Verstappen may have clipped the grass, perhaps, down the straight, and he fired him into his teammate, but they've survived that little skirmish between the two, but they're still side by side here. Max Verstappen versus Sergio Perez, so they're diving down the hill once more, still side by side here. Who will give in? They're still absolutely wheel to wheel. Perez on the inside, Verstappen on the outside. Verstappen is going to get the better exit though, out of No Name and into Pouon. But meanwhile behind that's Bottas going to send it to the inside of Sergio Perez. A little bit of a wiggle from both cars there, and Bottas is up into second position ahead of Sergio Perez. Bottas, after his DNF last time out, is not really fighting for this championship realistically anymore, so it's all just one race at a time now for Valtteri Bottas, just trying to get the best results he can as Max Verstappen on lap 7 pulls into the pits here. Looking a bit earlier than most of the field. He's followed in by Daniel Ricciardo. A bit early for the medium tyres, I would assume. Let's see what tyres he goes to. and it will indeed be the hard compound tyres for Verstappen and for Daniel Ricciardo, I would assume. Looks like that's the compound going on the McLaren as well as the Red Bull. Looks like Ricciardo may have got held up a little bit there by Max Verstappen, but Ricciardo nonetheless is staying close to the Red Bull so far in this race, and Ricciardo looking like a bit of an outside contender for the victory today as he comes out of the pits a couple seconds there behind the Red Bull of Verstappen. Meanwhile, out front, the guys that didn't pit on that lap, Valtteri Bottas, Sergio Perez, Lewis Hamilton, these three are now going to start scrapping away. It's Sergio Perez to the inside of Valtteri Bottas into the Les Combes chicane. Perez in that Red Bull, the Red Bull looking like the quicker car this weekend, despite Mercedes traditionally having a pace advantage on the Spa circuit. But Perez on this occasion not able to make the move stick on Valtteri Bottas. Valtteri Bottas holding on to the race lead. Into the pits on this occasion, it's Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton. Valtteri Bottas will stay out one more time, out in the lead of this Grand Prix, getting those laps led. I think he'll enjoy that clean air, but he won't enjoy the tyre grip that he has left on those soft compound tyres. Sergio Perez, what tyres will he go to? Can't see from that angle, sadly. As is that going to be jumped there by Lewis Hamilton? Has he been jumped by Lewis Hamilton? Yes, he has. Hamilton's got ahead, and they're both on medium tyres by the looks of things. But Lewis Hamilton gets ahead of Sergio Perez in the pit stops and gets himself up into what you would imagine is a net P2, but no, that's Ricciardo going by. The undercut is very powerful, clearly. Ricciardo up into a net P2, Hamilton only in a net P3 now, but he's now ahead of Sergio Perez. Valtteri Bottas out front here. He's going to come in to the pits and equip some fresh tyres, some fresh medium rubber, of course, if those pitting before him could, so can he. Giving himself that one lap advantage on the tyres. It may hurt him now, but perhaps later in the race he could fight his way back up the order. But for now, Bottas into the pits, putting on medium compound tyres. Where will he come out? How bad has the traffic been for those like Verstappen, Ricciardo, Hamilton and Perez? Looks like there's a couple of cars in the mix, but unlike France, there hasn't been any major scraps going on. So I doubt Bottas will overcut anyone here, and it doesn't look like he will as he comes out of the pit lane there and will come out behind Sergio Perez. So he's actually lost a couple of positions there, as the undercut does seem to be very powerful around this circuit, and Bottas down into 5th position. But Ricciardo now in 2nd, just behind Max Verstappen. Ricciardo having a very strong drive here. As we see Sergio Perez on the back of Lewis Hamilton. Perez in that Red Bull looking to try and get himself up the order, but he's going slowly. What's happened to the Red Bull here? Is that an issue on the Red Bull of Sergio Perez? 3rd in the championship, just 9 points off the lead, and that is an engine failure there for the Red Bull of Sergio Perez, and Perez is out of the race, and that is going to be a huge hit to his championship chances. Sergio Perez out of the Grand Prix. Further down the order, we haven't seen much of the midfield so far, though the action up front has just been so good, but here we see Kimi Raikkonen on the back of Pato O'Ward, charging past the Mexican driver, and Raikkonen sends it into the Les Combes chicane, and up into 13th position, looking like that Alfa Romeo's got some decent pace today, but getting held up early on is not helping him. Also, that's another engine failure here. Carlos Sainz this time with an engine issue. We said that this track was tough on engines, and it looks like it is going to be. Carlos Sainz is your 2nd retirement of the day as he pulls off the racetrack. There you see the yellow flags being waved, but that will be at no form of safety car, virtual or real. So that is just a local yellow here. Battling up at the front, it is the 2 Mercedes cars that are going to go at it this time. Look at that, Bottas on those 1 lap pressure tyres is looking racy here. Going to go to the outside of Lewis Hamilton. Will he make the move? Yes, he will. Nice and easy done there by the Mercedes driver of Valtteri Bottas, up into the 3rd position. And next driver up the road for him will be Daniel Ricciardo, but Ricciardo's got other things in mind. He is not looking in his mirrors. He's looking up the road at that Red Bull of Max Verstappen. Verstappen not looking that quick on his 2nd stint. They're going to go wheel to wheel for the lead of this race. Daniel Ricciardo on the inside, not able to take it away. Or can he hang it around the outside? Not quite able to there. Ricciardo now will have to look in his mirrors as Bottas looms larger than ever before. Bottas on those mediums to Ricciardo's hards, but Ricciardo still looking pretty good out front here. Again, looks like Ricciardo's going to have another stab at Max Verstappen into Les Combes chicane. Verstappen has to leave room. Ricciardo, though, not able to keep his car up the inside and then around the outside. Chicane is it's a tricky one. You've got to force your way up the inside there, but at the moment that's not working. So we've got a smoking engine here. Pato O'Ward being overtaken by Antonio Giovinazzi. Alfa Romeo's cars looking both much quicker than the Chevrolet of O'Ward. Perhaps that smoke is a sign of why the Chevrolet is struggling at the moment. He's down in 14th position, and with smoke coming out the back of the car, but shows no sign of retirement at the moment. Not healthy though, is the Chevrolet of O'Ward. Meanwhile, up at the front, Ricciardo's going to try once again. He's going to try it for the 3rd time here. Will this time it work? Wheel to wheel through the Les Combes chicane. Ricciardo this time is going to keep his nose in. Yes, he is. Ricciardo keeps his nose in into the right-hander. Now making their way down the hill. Ricciardo keeping his nose in this fight, keeping his car in this fight. Diving down the hill. Which one of these two will come out on top on corner exit? Ricciardo looks slightly ahead, but sending it down the inside goes Max Verstappen. Valtteri Bottas getting caught out a bit there. That's Hamilton on the back of him, but Ricciardo getting the better exit from No Name, diving down into pool 1. Verstappen sends it in, not giving any room to Ricciardo. Ricciardo has to back out as the two Mercedes cars battle out behind Hamilton and Bottas, dueling for that final position on the podium. Valtteri Bottas looks like he's going to hold on to it, or will he, as Hamilton sends it back to the inside, flip-flopping the side of the track you want to be on, but Valtteri Bottas holds on to the third position here in Spa. But the battle at the moment is for the lead of the race. Ricciardo is going to try it again. Lap 18 now of 22. Ricciardo looks to the inside, but he can't make the move stick. Looks like he might be running a little bit out of time here. He has to make this move sooner rather than later whilst he has that tyre. Oh, he doesn't even have a tyre advantage. Ross just is feeling better at the moment by the looks of things. As Valtteri Bottas in third, looking... Oh, and he spun it! Valtteri Bottas has spun the car going through Les Combes. Sends it into the grass. Looks like he's kept the car going, kept it out of the wall. But Valtteri Bottas now down into 5th position. And it's a tough one for Valtteri Bottas, finding himself all quite literally in the mud. And smoke continues to bellow from the rear of O'Ward's car. However, this time it looks a little bit worse, and it is terminal. And the safety car is deployed in the race. Will end under safety car, which means the battle sadly has come to a close early on. But Max Verstappen takes his 4th win of the season ahead of his former teammate Daniel Ricciardo. Red Bull get their 6th win in 7 races. What a season they are having. But it's Max Verstappen who reigns supreme in Spa, his closest thing to a home Grand Prix this year. But Max Verstappen there will stand on the top step of the podium ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. In 3rd place, it'll actually be Lando Norris, who has got ahead of Lewis Hamilton off camera by the looks of things. But it is once again for the 2nd race in a row a double McLaren podium. This team is starting to become the 3rd top team by the looks of things, so perhaps Mercedes and Red Bull for next season have to look out for McLaren taking the fight to them. But at the moment it is Red Bull who lead the way here and take home the top prize and the 25 points for the victory here in Spa. Here are your final results for the Belgian Grand Prix here in 2021. The win, of course, went to Max Verstappen ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Lando Norris in 3rd place ahead of Lewis Hamilton in 4th, losing a lot of points there to his championship rival. And it's Valtteri Bottas, despite that spin, still getting 5th position ahead of Charles Leclerc, Pierre Gasly now, and Yuki Tsunoda getting a good result for AlphaTauri after a couple of bad races for that team. Looks like they're getting a good result with 7th and 8th, bring home some points for them. Then it's Sebastian Vettel for Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso rounding out the points paying positions. Lance Stroll just missing out by a position. Alfa Romeo getting 12th and 13th, showing that they have got some decent pace here, and despite getting held up early in the race, clawed their way to a decent finish. There are no points to be brought home, but still a result that they can be proud of ahead of George Russell in 14th. Williams driver really proving himself in that Williams car, and I'm sure he'll be looking to either bring that team up the grid or find himself a team that is further up the grid already for next season. But there are your final results for the Belgian Grand Prix. Verstappen getting 25 points, which means he'll outscore Lewis Hamilton by 13 points in the championship. Valtteri Bottas getting that fastest lap, taking away the point from Verstappen, but that will close in the gap at the top of the table. So Verstappen will... Well, I say it'll close in the gap here. Verstappen will extend his gap to levels not seen since, well, a couple of races ago. We thought the championship would flipped on its head. Hamilton was then back in the fight. Same goes to Sergio Perez. But just one race later, Max Verstappen now has an 18-point championship lead. That's bigger than what he had going to Austria. So now Verstappen once again back in control of the championship. Hamilton looking like the only man close enough to challenge. Sergio Perez now, despite at one point this season looking like maybe he could challenge for that title, despite some of the unfortunate results that he has had this season. Sergio Perez still in 3rd, but 34 points off the championship lead. Now that's not good for the Mexican driver, and I think it's safe to say both him and Bottas out of this championship fight unless something absolutely crazy can happen. Further down the order, got Lando Norris still 5th in the championship ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo really starting to come strong here, just 13 points behind his teammate, as Leclerc is in 7th, and having a strong season. Ferrari not looking like the best of teams at the moment, at least not in the hands of Carlos Sainz, as he sits 14th in the championship, but Leclerc 7th in the championship. At one point we thought he would be him versus Norris at best of the rest, but that McLaren, it looks as though has just got a little bit too good for the Monegasque driver to fight against. Sebastian Vettel to the 8th in the championship for Aston Martin. It's a strong season so far for him, of course, just missing out on the win in France, but still 8th position and well clear of his teammate. In the constructors' standings, Red Bull lead the way with a 33-point championship lead over Mercedes. That championship hasn't changed too much today, of course, with Perez's engine failure, so only a 2-point gain for Red Bull over Mercedes. So that fight is very much still on, but still a big gap for Mercedes to close in. McLaren now only 81 points off the championship lead. I'm not suggesting they'll be able to close in, but it's getting to the point now where maybe Mercedes will, if they have a couple more bad results like this, Mercedes could well end up being closer to McLaren than they are to Red Bull, if McLaren keep up their current form, which not good news for Mercedes, but I'm sure good news for both Red Bull and McLaren there. Ferrari in 4th, still holding on to that position, hanging on to that position, thanks to Charles Leclerc's points. The Aston Martin team in 5th, doing strongly at the moment, 12 points off Ferrari. I don't think we'll see anything happen there unless there's something crazy that happens. But at the moment, Aston Martin's in strong position of 5th, just ahead of AlphaTauri. Too many A's on the grid there is. Just ahead of AlphaTauri by 2 points. AlphaTauri, a bit of a resurgence in that last race, getting 10 points, puts them back in that fight for 5th in the Constructors' Championship. But you've got to say, with Ferrari's issues recently, AlphaTauri, if they had avoided their issues themselves, then maybe they could have taken that 4th position in the Constructors. They're not out of it just yet, they're still very much in the fight, but only 6th at the moment for AlphaTauri after a few bad races, but they bounce back here in Spa. They're ahead of Alpine and Chevrolet, as that is the top 8 in the Constructors' standings. So that was it for round 7 of the championship here in the Alternative Apex Series 2021. Next up we go to Monza, the home Grand Prix of Ferrari. They'll be looking for a stronger race than they've had in recent times. But at the moment the championship back in Verstappen's hands, but in Monza anything can happen, and it usually does. To quote the great Murray Walker there on the second part of that quote anyway. But in Monza, who knows what can happen. It's a power circuit similar to Spa, and we saw Red Bull go well in Spa, so it's going to be tough to call there. But I mean, we saw Slipstream being a huge, and DRS of course being a huge factor in Spa, so if that's the same in Monza, we could see a great scrap for the victory. And don't rule out McLaren after that strong showing in Spa. Perhaps they could get their first win of the season. Who knows what to expect. With 3 races left in the season, the championship is on its way to a close. I hope you've all enjoyed this video. Only way to find out who will come out on top of this championship will be to join us tomorrow for Monza. 3 days left in the 2021 season. Who knows who's coming out on top here? I think your guess is as good as mine here. But yeah, until next time, goodbye.